Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube segment, I'm going to be talking about an incident many of you may have heard of, and it took place on July 10th, and it involved a woman named Sandra Bland, and she had died in prison, I believe, several days later, like on the 13th of July, and there's a lot of debate and controversy over the situation. She was pulled over by a policeman on July 10th. And what happened was she had willfully refused to exit the vehicle when the policeman asked her to. Now, as a result, he went in and he started reaching in for her and try to pull her out, and eventually was successful in that. And what it did was the situation escalated, and which precipitated the events that followed, in terms of her eventually being thrown down, pinned to the ground, and she had made some statement about her having epilepsy and was cursing, and I think what happened is, in this situation, okay. I think what we have to learn is that if a policeman asks you to get out of a vehicle, no matter how preposterous the reason is to really be compliant and do it. Now, I'm not condoning the excessive force, which I think was valid in terms of what the policeman did. Now, I think the force used was very excessive. I felt it was unnecessary. When I did watch the video, and I would say that Sandra Bland did seem a little bit belligerent, a little acerbic, and maybe there was some arrogance with her. I think she was some kind of human rights advocate. She had a page on Facebook. I think she had over like 40,000 likes. I'm not saying 100% on that, but she had a lot of likes on her page, and she was a fairly popular, prominent figure for this. And the policeman had thrown her down, or I don't know if he threw her down, but pinned her down maybe. I'm not sure how he actually got her down, but she had said something like, "I have epilepsy." And the thing about this is, a policeman I don't know if there's maybe a little more arrogance with law enforcement now as opposed to maybe 20, 25 years ago, a little more of a power thing perhaps with them. And policemen, obviously, a lot of people in authority don't like to be shown up. That's something you have to really take into consideration. And when he had she had pulled over. She was complying as far as that went. But upon the request for her to leave or exit the vehicle, she would not. She wasn't compliant. And that escalated the situation big time, I think. The cop did seem fairly mellow and passive initially when he started talking to her. And I think what happened was when she started basically refusing to come out of the vehicle, that's what precipitated the events to follow. And like I said, I think the force used was very strongly excessive, and by the policeman that way it was not necessary. But people are very quick to play like the racial or race card in this situation, and I'm not saying it didn't. We don't know 100% whether it factored in or it didn't. I think that what's significant is that there's two things that you have to remember to come out of the police, to come out of your vehicle if you're requested by a law enforcement person. And also maybe the policemen need some more extensive training as far as maybe handling these situations a little more without the excessive use of perhaps force and violence and things that are acting in a less volatile nature. Now, after she had said that she had epilepsy, the cop responded and said, "Good." Now, that wasn't necessary. I mean, I know that. And now, Really, and then she wound up, as many of you know, she had died in prison like 3 days later. Apparently, at least as far as what's been stated, it was of a suicide, that she had hung herself with some kind of asphyxiation. And there's some controversy and debate over it. There was something regarding a profile, like a mug picture, somebody had said it was taken after she had perished and the eyes were open or something, and there's all kinds of confusion, and it's a very confounding, perplexing situation. And the thing about this is, people will say, well, if that was a white woman in the vehicle, it wouldn't have gone down this way. And I think a lot of that is just pure speculation and conjecture, honestly. That may be true, it may not be. It's something we'll probably never know. Do I think there's still racial tension in the U.S.? I do believe so. I think it's diminished dramatically over the years, but to some degree we may have that, and maybe it did factor in this situation. But I think lesson to be learned is that also pride comes before fall. You want to make a statement against a policeman, you're probably going to be vanquished. You're not going to emerge victorious. It's just about really, I think, showing the respect to the authorities, and really and listening to what's being stated. There was nothing outlandish that was requested of her. It was just something where he had simply asked her to exit the vehicle, and unfortunately it wound up, it escalated the way it did. It's terrible that somebody had to die indirectly as a result of this. I mean, the apprehension itself didn't result in her dying, but if she wasn't incarcerated, she would most likely be alive today. And I think sometimes people just have so much pride in them that they want to stand up for something. It really, they want to stand up for themselves, and a lot of times what happens is you wind up paying the piper for doing so. And in this situation, she didn't need to quote unquote stand up for herself. She just could have gotten out of the vehicle and stood up and listened to the policeman. And I really think it would have gone down in a much different manner. If there was no drug paraphernalia or nothing illegal in the vehicle, then there's no problem. The truth sets you free, right? You come out of your vehicle and the cop follows his protocol. He searches the vehicle extensively, doesn't find anything, finds that you have no warrants on you, finds that everything is copacetic. I mean, you're a free bird at that point. And I think that's just something to be learned by this. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube segment about my thoughts on the Sandra Bland apprehension and her death. And until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.